but it really goes beyond English teachers, right? Because I believe there was one study that said about 85% of our curriculum is taught through reading. So when we think about content area teachers, thinking about whether it's science or social studies, reading comprehension in those content area teachers can also be a struggle. So how have you been thinking about supporting, along with the instructional coaches and the English teachers, what has been the plan for those content area teachers? And has there been, pushback saying, I'm not a reading teacher, I'm a science teacher? And if so, how have you worked through that with them?
In our secondary settings at our middle school and our high school, the building leaders there have been very intentional about helping them see that we are all teaching literacy in our different content areas. Now, is that a super easy thing for everyone to take on? No, because the science teachers do want to say, I teach science content. I didn't go to school to be an English teacher. I went to school to learn about teaching students science. So that's, again, another system level, making sure they understand why. Doing this work as a collaborative team across those complex content areas will really only serve to benefit them when they are teaching their specific content area. Complex texts and the topics can be very difficult for students who have foundational reading skill gaps for them to navigate. So that's subject-specific vocabulary, it's text structures, it's the writing process. When students enter secondary settings with those kinds of gaps, every time they're in class, they are faced with feeling ill-prepared to meet the demands of what they're being asked to do. Alongside that, then, you also have a lot of social and emotional considerations that come into play, relating to motivation and executive functioning, and just being willing to continue to show up for something that you don't feel successful doing. And I often have reminded staff members, imagine you came to your job every single day for years and have not been able to meet the needs or meet the demands that have been asked of you. How likely are you to have a great attitude about doing those things?
Yeah,
and so
I love that analogy. Yeah.
When they think about it that way, it's helpful, but it's still a very challenging space to walk, because there's knowing something and then there's doing something, and that's the difficulty.
Yeah, no, I really love that analogy. In order to share their science content that they're so passionate about, the students need to be able to access that information. So I think that is so important. And I think as our country is focused right now on that, foundational learning to read, we need to also think about those students who maybe had, as thinking about it as like the foundation of their house, they have some cracks in that foundation. And if, as we're adding in the science, the social studies, the math on top of that foundation, we need to make sure we can, secure and shore up that foundation. So I love that you guys are focusing on those teachers as well as your elementary teachers.